Hi, I'm Ruth Royal from Youth Pledge for Employers, and I'm really delighted to be here today with Heidi Franklin, who is co-founder and director of Wild Play Limited. Heidi, lovely to meet you.
Good morning, Ruth. Good to see you.
So, Heidi, first, tell us all a bit about Wild Play.
So, Wild Play is a health, wellness, and education company established in 2018 by myself and a very good friend of mine called Denise. We're both worked in education for 20 years, so very experienced, and decided that we wanted to do something a little bit different, something that we felt really passionately about. So we work with people of all ages to promote the health and wellness benefits of spending time outside.
That sounds absolutely brilliant in terms of like sort of the fact that's all ages and all about being outdoors. What sort of skills did you have going in, and what sort of skills have you needed to develop for Wild Play to be successful?
Sure. So skills going in, obviously coming from an educational background, we know how to work with people, we know how to work with different stakeholders. We had a broad range of skills, obviously being in school. Denise was teaching for 20 years. I was teaching and then was a head teacher for 13. So we brought different skills to our business. So obviously from a leadership perspective in school, I was able to look at budgeting and planning and, you know, organizing and all that kind of strategic stuff. And between the two of us, we're also really good at obviously the practical side as well. And actually lots of the skills that you use working with children can also be related to adults as well. The training that we needed to do to start our business, we obviously had to make sure that we had updated safeguarding training, DBS and safeguarding training, food hygiene training, outdoor first aid training, and we're also Forest School level 3 trained as well. So there was a degree of training that we needed to do before we started, as well as obviously upskilling ourselves in terms of what it's like to run a business.
And so what was that journey like, going from kind of being employed as a head, going into running your own business? What sort of skills do you need to actually run your own business? Because I guess you're not just outdoors all the time in the woods, though that would be very lovely. But so what sort of other things do you have to do?
So we spend probably 4 to 5 days outside in the woodland every week. Some days, some weeks it's more, some weeks it's less. And the rest of our time is spent in the office. And it is very much a case of, you know, the admin side of things. It's the planning, it's the organising, it's thinking ahead, it's resourcing, it's getting best value, it's making sure that things like our tax and accounts are all up to speed, it's marketing, it's the whole kit and caboodle, really. There are 2 of us, so we share the load between us. There are certain things that we do together. And we always double check each other on everything and work backwards from any situation to make sure we've left no stone unturned, really. So it's a broad range of skills that we have to utilise. And of course, time management is key, because there's a lot to cram in a short space of time.
I can see how that would be really brilliant to open a business doing something that you really love, but I think there's always that piece, isn't it, like you said, that actually alongside that bit is all the stuff that comes with actually making sure people know about your business for marketing, running your own business, and obviously you've got to sort of plan and resource your sessions. When you're actually out in the woods, what sort of skills and behaviours are you using? How does that work?
So again, it's a different set of skills altogether, isn't it? You know, we're outside, we have to be really efficient at setup. Because each of the groups that we work with, there's a different setup process, and it's all about being with people. We nurture people, we make sure our sessions are all about those individuals. It's not about us, it's about them. And our motto is that people leave the woodland feeling better than when they arrived. So to us, making sure that our participants are at the heart and soul of everything that we do is what we're all about. We know when to step in, we know when to stand back and observe, we know how to nurture people, make people feel valued, and to help them with whatever it is that they need support with.
I bet that can be really challenging sometimes, working out how to support people. What sort of activities do you do outside? What sort of things
Sure.
happen?
So we run various groups, Ruth. We work with mums and newborn babies, and that group is very much about perinatal support for the mums. You know, it's a vulnerable time when you've just had a baby, and obviously with the past couple of years with the pandemic as well, it's some services are still not up and running. So we are very much about supporting our new mums. We run toddler groups, which is all about education and skills and development and the early years journey for those children. But the byproduct of that is that we're supporting those mums as well, because it's challenging having a 2 and a 3 and a 4-year-old that, you know, is going through all those stages of becoming independent. We run holiday clubs for 5 to 11-year-olds. So again, that's a very different set of skills that we're using to make sure that every child within that age range has an amazing time with us. And it's liaising with those parents at the start and the end of the day to make sure that they're all okay. We work with schools and go into schools and support them with their curriculum work. We work with charities and community organisations. So, for example, in September, we're running a Brownie and Girl Guide Day for 130 young people. So there's a lot of planning and organising that goes into days like that. We also work with corporate companies. So we don't do your traditional team building day. We call them feel good days. And everything we do is bespoke. So it's about working with those organisations to find out exactly what they want for their workforce. What is the need? What do they want to get out of the day? And then we match it accordingly. So we help people to, we cook outside, sadly not this summer because the weather's been so dry, but we cook outside, we provide activities and crafts and all kinds of things. We can almost do like an escape room outside. We can do all kinds of stuff depending on what our clients need and want.
It seems to me that to run a community interest company in that way, that you've got to have a really broad skill set, in that you've got to be able to undertake the practical activities that it is that you're engaging people with. You need all that back office piece as well, with the marketing, the administration, the IT skills. But yet, probably it seems to me overall that you need these really great communication skills where you can talk to people literally at all different levels, whether or not that's an executive director in a corporate day, right down to like a 2-year-old perhaps, as part of the sessions.
Yeah, absolutely. Communication is key for us.
And so I'm really interested to hear your journey, Heidi, into doing that, because it's not the sort of thing that you hear about people doing all the time. And I appreciate that you've sort of come from teaching use and a headship into that. And I guess there are other routes in for people, though I'm sure that was a really useful grounding. But it'd be really interesting to hear how you got into it.
Absolutely. So Denise and I met at antenatal classes when we were expecting our first children. And instantly we kind of knew that we were teachers, because when you work in a school, your life revolves around 6-week half-termly blocks. So we connected that way, and we remained friends ever since, and met up every half term with our children and did stuff outdoors and whatever. And I was a head teacher for 13 years. Latterly, and Denise came and did some cover work for me in my school, and then one day, completely out of the blue, my line manager came into my office and closed the door and more or less said anything and everything possible that was utterly awful, and one of the things I was told was that I had no strengths, which was horrendous. I left the building that day and never went back. It was a very difficult situation that I was placed in, that was completely out of the blue. I had no warning, no knowledge of what was going to happen. It was very complicated, and had wide ramifications for other members of my team as well. However, what happened as a result of that was that I then had experienced the most extreme anxiety, to the point where I didn't leave my home for almost a year. I became incredibly agoraphobic and really didn't even know which day of the week it was. I was very poorly with it. saw my doctor twice a week, every week. And it was most definitely the most difficult period of my life. I had 2 young children who went to my school, so they still had to go there every day. And it was really, really difficult. And somehow, some way, I had to get myself out of that situation. There were 2 choices. It was going to go one way or the other. So I knew I didn't have depression. I'd been tested for all kinds of different things. It was pure, raw anxiety that I was dealing with, the unknown. Why was this happening to me? There was no rhyme or reason for it. And what were the wider ramifications on myself, my family, etc., etc. So I had to develop my own self-help strategy. And over the course of a year, the only place I went was to walk my dogs. So I was outside in a field by myself every day, walking the dogs. And that helped me massively. And I realized how nature is an absolute healer. My friend Denise, who I now work with, she was a lifesaver. We'd known each other a long time. She checked in on me. She made sure I was okay. And, you know, I owe her an awful lot, actually. I had to develop some self-help skills, which I did, and it took a long time, but eventually I completely reinvented myself. I rebuilt myself, and I think the moral of the story here is sometimes things don't work out in the way that you think they're going to, and it throws you off your course. But actually, life is a journey, and that journey will lead you to the destination that you're intended to be on. And I had to trust that journey. I had affirmations and manifestations pouring out of me all the time, which I just thought, I have to do this. I have to do this. And one day, Denise and I sat around the kitchen table and we just said, actually, we've worked with children all these years. The education system is fairly broken. A lot of children don't suit a normal 4 walls of a classroom. Let's do something about it. That's how we started. So we set up our company, and I had rebuilt myself. I'd reinvented myself, and rebuilt my confidence. And from feeling completely worthless, I knew I had something to offer, and that's what we did. And we set up. We originally thought we would work with children, and 2 weeks into our business, we were asked to run a workshop for adults who were all unemployed, indoors in the centre of London. So completely not what we thought we were going to be doing. And that day we looked at each other across the room and realised that what we wanted to do actually was for people of all ages. And even though we have this umbrella of wonderful provision, underneath it all is about helping people to feel good, helping people to feel better and benefit from being outdoors. So we came running back to Suffolk and jumped on Companies House, changed all our business codes, and said, okay, we're health, wellness and education for people of all ages. And we haven't looked back, really. Our first holiday club that we ran had 10 participants, and 4 of those were our own children. And now we've built that up. We literally work with thousands of people every year.
That is just such an incredible journey, Heidi, and I really appreciate you sharing so candidly about how actually the good thing that is Wild Play Limited has come out of some real adversity that you experienced, because I think it's really easy to see people and think that everything's always been fine, and that's that's just a great idea and you've gone ahead and done that. But for that to come out of something really challenging, and I think your message there about how actually this is a journey that we're on, and that actually that you travel through things, and sometimes it's bad and sometimes it's good. And I think probably my reflection as well there is that though you feel now you're where you meant to be, from an outsider listening to your story, you actually took quite a lot of ownership about how you dealt with that situation and were very proactive about how you managed your mental health out of that really difficult situation. And I think that's just really fascinating as a journey, and the fact you've built a company from it is absolutely brilliant. And I guess probably I'd like to end by asking you, Heidi, if you could go back and have a conversation with your younger self, with young Heidi, at the start of your career journey, what piece of advice would you give yourself, do you think?
It's a great question, Ruth. I think the advice would be to believe in yourself, absolutely go for it 100%, and have good people around you if you can, who will support and encourage you on your journey. Surround yourself with people who are good for your emotional well-being. Don't be scared, but be humble at the same time, and stay grounded to whatever it is, whatever situation you're in, stay grounded.
That is just fantastic advice. Heidi, thank you so much for your time. It's been brilliant to meet you today.